If they have Make Canada Great Again, Pat, like America got, I'm gonna need to get one. This stuff, this Canada's room with smart people is huge. And it's it is it's not a UFC fight, but it is definitely. I think they do. I think they get a little crazier than we do, maybe just a little bit. Watch.
Inflation has sent food, housing, and gas prices soaring, but there's one substance that has gone down in price by 90%. Powerful opioids. After the Prime Minister announced 100 million.
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Can you start from the top? We're just getting some distractions from all over. From the top, please. Order.
While the Prime Minister has sent inflation for gas, heat, and groceries soaring, there is one product that's actually come down in price. Powerful opioids. The Prime Minister has spent $100 million on so-called safe supply. One Global News reporter went into the street to find out where all these drugs are going. Turns out they're being resold to other addicts in order to raise the money to buy deadly fentanyl. Will the Prime Minister cancel the dollars for drugs and instead put the resources into treatment for addicts?
Yeah. The Honourable Minister for Mental Health.
Mr. Speaker, we are pretty fed up with this fight against evidence-based programs that actually are saving lives. We cannot allow the Conservatives to take us back to the ideology of even husbands have lives of being and things that are speaking nonsense. So just stop it and save lives.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Order. Order. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
No common sense. The evidence is seen in the tragic faces of addicts who lie overdosed on the pavement in the downtown east side of Vancouver, where after this Prime Minister spent $100 million handing out free drugs to addicts, he has led to a 300% increase in overdoses. Will he stop giving dollars for drugs and instead follow my common sense plan to put the resources into treatment and recovery to bring our loved ones home drug-free?
The Honourable Minister. Order. Order. The Honourable Minister.
People are dying. Save.
One second. Order. 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 One person at a time in this chamber, please. The Honourable Minister.
46,000 overdoses have been reversed in safe consumption sites. That member says that he will stop that. I want him to speak to the parents of the people that would have been lost if there weren't safe consumption sites and safer supply. This is ridiculous.
People are dying because the policies of this Prime Minister are killing them. His policies are flooding the streets with drugs that now go for $1 a hit. You can buy 26 hits of hydromorphine, which is an analog to heroin, for $30, Mr. Speaker. These are drugs paid for by Canadian tax dollars under a program by this government that has led to a 300% increase in drug overdose deaths. Why won't they get some common sense, end dollars for drugs, and put our people in treatment?
The Honourable Minister for Mental Health. Order. Order. The Honourable Minister for Mental Health.
Have to stay alive long enough to get treatment. People are dying because of the toxic drug supply. Safe supply allows people to stay alive long enough. It means that in the CMAJ study, just
Order. Please start from the top, the same courtesy I gave to the opposition leader.
people have to stay alive long enough to get to treatment. People are dying because of the toxic, tainted drug supply. When people are on safe supply, the CMAJ article yesterday talked about less drug use, less overdoses, less petty crime. This is an evidence-based project and program that it meets the test of evidence and science, not a journalist who only will speak to the people who disagree with him.
Telling Canada's
I
mine.
know the parliamentary budget officer testified that the majority of households will pay more in carbon taxes than they will get back in rebates. There is a table showing that every single province in which this tax applies, the middle class families pay vastly more than they get back. And Canadians know it because under this prime minister, they've seen their food, their fuel, their homes, their heating go through the roof. But why don't we just end the debate and let Canadians decide?
The parliamentary budget officer clearly spelled out that 8 out of 10 Canadian families in areas where the price on pollution applies get more money every year than they pay in the price on pollution. That's because we created a plan that not only is one of the strongest plans to fight climate change in the world, but it puts more money back in the pockets of middle-class Canadians as we build a stronger future, better careers, more competitiveness, and a safer environment for generations to come. That's the plan we have. That's not what they're doing.
The $60 million Arrive scam is just the tip of the iceberg. We now learn that there are $5 million in additional fraud that has been identified by the Department of Public Procurement. And this is out of the $21 billion the Prime Minister is now spending on outside consultants, a 100% increase, and fully with the support of the NDP. Can the Prime Minister tell us how much of this $21 billion is fraud?
Administration is obviously unacceptable, which is why authorities are looking into this procurement process. Anyone who took advantage of our COVID response to save Canadian lives should face consequence. All federal contracts with these companies have been suspended as the investigation continues. But everyone in this House noticed how quickly he pivoted from the question on Ukraine. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, his members are ashamed of him, forcing him to vote against Ukrainian.
Minister demonstrates once again he is a fake and he is a phony because he's a fake.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition is a very experienced member of Parliament, and I know that he would understand that kind of a statement that's directed to an individual would not be considered parliamentary. So I'll ask the honourable member to continue with this question.
The Prime Minister is a fake and a phony on this issue, just like on everything else. He says.
The honourable member, again, is a very experienced member, and he knows that when the Speaker asks him to chastise us a little bit for the use of language which is not considered parliamentary, I'd ask him please to rephrase, with all those comments, rephrase the question without using those words.
Mr. Speaker, this is a Prime Minister who authorized the export of gas turbines to pump gas from Putin's economy into Europe to fund the war. He's someone who signed on to allow Russian detonators to blow up Ukrainians on the battlefield, and he's a pro-Russia energy policy to fund the Russian economy. We'll take no less.
Sauce from the leader of the opposition. The reality is, President Zelensky
I see that the opposition House Leader is asking members to be calm. I'm going to ask all House Leaders to please ask all of your members from all sides to be calm. So, and I'll ask in particular the member from Dufferin Caledon, please, to hold on until he has the time to speak. So, the Honourable Prime Minister, please.
Mr. Speaker, the leader of the opposition is flailing in every way he can to try and divert the attention from the fact that his members voted against a request by President Zelensky himself to support a Canada-Ukraine free trade deal. The reality is, his constituents across the country feel betrayed by the Conservative Party voting against Ukraine.
The Ukrainians asked for us to give missiles that can serve as support to Ukraine, not to give turbines and detonators to Russia, which is what he has done. He's failed Ukrainians abroad and he's failed Canadians at home. Canadians are good and decent people. They don't have to live this way. They do not have to give up the things they used to take for granted, like affordable food and homes, all for the incompetence and ego of one man. He's not worth the cost or the corruption. Will he call a carbon tax election so Canadians can decide?
Notice how desperate he is to try and find any excuse he can to justify their voting against Ukraine. And suddenly, he's not talking about the price on pollution that Ukraine put in itself years ago. He's not using that as an excuse, even though that was all we heard as the justification for why they voted against Ukraine, voted against Ukrainian Canadians, voted against the reconstruction of Ukraine that we are committed to through a free trade agreement. He stood in this house and voted against Ukraine and is to hide from it. He let down Ukraine and that showed who he is.
Yeah.
According to Scotiabank, the Prime Minister's deficits are adding.
Because Canada's wide. America's wide. Look at this side. Look at this side. Look at these people. This over here. The pink. And the yellow. She's okay. Okay. Look at my man down here. That beard is solid. Canada, we got work. So